Hello everyone! Today on Binky's Gaming Thoughts, I'm very excited to explore 10 beings the Maker could be. And this is based on my theories, your theories, everything we've kind of explored together so far, with a few little extra things that my mind just came up with when I was studying these things. So number one, the Maker could be the actual maker. So the most obvious, but the least interesting of possibilities to me, would be that the maker is actually, in fact, everything he is described to be. There are potentially and most probably some exaggerations in the Chant of Light, as is usual. Gaps filled, perhaps, where things were unclear, or to explain a few inexplicable things, since humans do love their logic. Humans would have forgotten that the Maker created elves and dwarves and Qunari as well, just as much as humans, and like any being, ego could have gotten in the way. And they would have forgotten that all beings are in the Maker's image. And the first of his children could have, well, very well been elves, since elves existed before humans. The feud between the peoples could be like a kind of sibling rivalry. The Maker could have created other beings after certain events to try to bring balance to his world, but realizing that only chaos was created, thus making him the maker of chaos. I had to throw that one in there. He went into hiding, thus abandoning his people, maybe to hide away in shame of what he had created, having created more destruction than co-creation, maybe having wanted to create beings who would help him create more, who would in turn create, but they were destroying more than they were creating. So he could be feeling like a failure. This could explain why he reached out to Ansraste and why the Chant of Light needs to be sung across Thedas, so he can hear that his children are listening and willing to work together to create a paradise again. Unless, of course, the Maker is just some divine magical energy that people gave a personification to because they didn't like the idea of an unidentifiable force of magic just playing a part in their destinies. The Maker could be the Force, and Thedas is just an unexplored planet, like somewhere, in the far reaches of unknown space, or in the outer rim, or something like that. Or part of another galaxy that's too far to reach with a mass relay. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Number 2, the stone. So, speaking of children, let's talk about the children of the stone. The Chant of Light talks about the Maker's first children. Since technically Titans existed before elves, then they could be the actual first children, thus making the Maker the stone. Titans are the first children of the stone, as Valta and the Inquisitor discuss. Then this would make the Maker a she and not a he, because the dwarves refer to the stone as she. Of course, the Maker could have created the stone, obviously, but suppose she is the being called the Maker, she the stone. There is a place we come to near the end of Descent called the Wellspring. Of course, one could argue that the Wellspring is part of a Titan, since technically we're inside a Titan, but the Titan could also be inside the Wellspring. It could go either way. And in the Chant of Light, the Maker is described by Ansraste as the Wellspring. So there's that link there. But how could the Maker be a she if described by Ansraste as a he? Well, simply put, because when you look like stone and you're speaking through stone, maybe you sound different. I mean, the first time I played Origins, I was convinced Shale was a dude until I realized she was a female dwarf and she was just a golem. So the maker, as the actual stone, if the stone speaks, if it being stone-like being, it could have been mistaken. It's a possibility. Of course, these are personifications. But suppose the dwarves are correct, and Thedosians are children of the stone. The maker shapes the world and her beings in her image. If everyone is children of the stone, then children of the maker. Everything that is related to or comes from the stone would be in her image, thus making it possible for the maker to be the stone. Number 3, a titan. So on the flip side of the wellspring theory, if the wellspring is within a titan because it is part of a titan, if the maker is the wellspring of all creation, then the maker could very well be a titan. These beings shape the world with their quakes. They're shapers. Like Volta points out, she's made one with the titan because she's a shaper. The maker, then being a shaper, could very well make and shape the world in his image by quaking the world. His image would then be stone and earth, the earth itself comprised of stones and mountains. If the beings of Thedas are, as the dwarves believe, children of the stone, and they come from the stone, the maker would be a child of the stone too. Hence, people in his image, as all siblings, resemble each other. Mostly. Usually. Something just comes to mind though. If the maker is a titan, is the maker the blight-tainted titan? Since one of the titans has red lyrium, since lyrium is titan blood, then if the maker is a titan, he could be the blight-tainted titan. Blight-tainted titan. Yeah, try saying that 10 times. I've said that before. Number 4, a hallucination, imagination. So speaking of images and imagery, let's look into imagination. It's possible that Ansraste, in her moment of desperation, imagined the maker. She could have simply had a hallucination. At her most desperate moment when she needed it and she saw it and it was so vivid, it gave her strength. And her resolute belief was enough for others to believe also and to follow her. Now, a vision, an inspiration, perhaps it was a spirit inspiring her, but which spirit, obviously? But a spirit could have been inspiring her in a way that she would have been able to understand, and that others would understand as well, thus guiding her. On the flip side, though, she may have needed a way to drive her people to follow her cause, but felt that she alone didn't have the necessary authority. So she could have created the maker to inspire all others to follow her in her cause. She could have fabricated the story. This would make the maker either a figment of imagination or a fabrication. Number 5, this one's a little new one, a Qunari. It's possible that the maker was a mortal living being. We know that Qunari have been at war with Tevinter for ages, like literally ages, since before ages began, in ancient, before the first age. And Andraste led the people against Tevinter in the exalted march. So who's to say the Maker was not a Qunari? This would mean that instead of appearing to Andraste in the manner in which it is described in the Chant of Light, the chant could be a dramatization of what actually happened. She could have entered a cave, and the Maker walks out from the shadows, speaks to her, and then slowly fades back into the shadows. For example, if we want to look at logistics, a Qunari could have met with her. Now, this Qunari could be a Ben Hasrath, but I highly doubt it would be an Arashok. But the way the Maker is described with the crown and the jewels and the gold, the most plausible Qunari type theory would be that the Qunari would be a Sarebass. Because Sarebasses have golden chains and crown-like contraptions on their bodies. The way that one looks, that's how it could be linked. It would fit some of the descriptions, at least, of the Maker. This Sarebass could then either be controlled by another Qunari in order to bring on the demise of Tevinter, giving their people an advantage, or could also be a Tal Vashoth. Perhaps even a Tal Vashoth Sarebass, if that's even possible. Who knows? And then would want to go against the other Qunari, or against both Tevinter and Qunari, and just, I don't know. Just the Maker could have been a Qunari. Number 6, Solas. So some have explored the possibility of Solas wanting to take the Maker's place, whilst others have explored the possibility of Solas being the Maker. And Solas may actually be the Maker. Solas, aka Fen'Harel, being the Maker would then perhaps make Flemeth as Mythal Andraste. Solas is both Evanurus and Forgotten One, thus existing as both a being of benevolence and one of testing and trial and more negative and evil aspects. He walks the waking mortal world of living beings and the Fade both. He also locked up beings in the city in the Fade, and he has been referred to as a guardian of the Fade. If he held, or still holds, the key to that city in the Fade, perhaps he is the one to whom that city truly belongs, the one to whom that city originally belongs. The Maker created his first children in his image, and elves existed before humans or other races. So the Maker could then be elven. Solas created the veil. The Chant of Light talks about the Maker creating the veil, separating the Fade from the world. The Maker had become disillusioned by the spirits. Could Solas have become disillusioned with his spirit's companions before he actually began to appreciate them for what they really were? Realizing that they can turn into demons through corruption. If he got bored, tried to change some of the spirits, they became corrupt, transformed into demons, then he has to do something about it. It makes him realize a few things, and it could cause deep regret, which Solas is full of deep regret. Could Solas be the actual master of the Fade? Solas was in a slumber in the realm of the living beings for so long, if he is the maker, it would explain why the maker forgot about everyone and kind of abandoned everyone. He couldn't do anything. He was just sleeping. Solas wants to restore a paradise that was Alathan. The maker's paradise could be the same as Fen'Harel's paradise. It could be Albanon. Solas wants to recreate the paradise that he himself destroyed by creating the veil when he locked the Avanuris up. So the maker destroyed his paradise and wants to restore it, thus causing destruction to the world that is separated from the Fae. That spells fail. Number 7, a forgotten one. So much as the maker has been forgotten by his people before he appeared to Ansraste, the forgotten ones have also been forgotten. Really. And little is known today about them. I've explored the possibility that the Avanuris and the Alt Gods are one and the same, and one could then argue that this proves further that Solas could be the maker since he is also a forgotten one, but since he is also an Avanuris and knows little about the forgotten ones, and the maker is supposed to be the all-knowing, so he, Solas, seems more Avanuris than Forgotten One, and is not all-knowing. Thus, these mysterious beings could be behind much of the world's creation. Perhaps the maker is not one Forgotten One, but the ensemble of the Forgotten Ones, all of the Forgotten Ones. All of them encompassed together for most of the same reasons that Solas could be the maker, such as the elves in relation to being the first children, the maker's image. The forgotten ones could be the maker, and they have all but been forgotten. Number 8, my favorite, a Darkspawn. One of the Tevinter Magisters to have entered the Golden City. So I have explored and reiterated a lot my theory about how the maker could be a Darkspawn. The similarity in the titles of the Tevinter Magisters are the first piece of evidence, first little bit of evidence to me. The architect, the conductor, the maker. The maker, since there's no maker among the Magisters, could be any one of them who was able to achieve what Corypheus was trying to achieve, and most likely was a male one, since Ansraste identifies him as male. Now, Corypheus trying to become the sole god sitting in the city in the Fade, for me is another bit of evidence that a Magister could succeed in becoming the god they wanted to be. I mean, if you think about it, if what Corypheus says is true, the city was empty, so that also is a little bit of evidence, because any one of them could have decided to take that place, take the seat in the throne, which Corypheus thinks he deserved to have because he was the first. And so they achieved that, and Corypheus didn't, and they took that seat. But then, where are they? And where have they gone? They, as in the hypothetical singular person. Number 9, an Avvar God. If the maker is an Avvar God, then he's not sitting on any throne in any city. He would be existing near the people, communing with the Avvar people through the augurs, which would explain why the city was empty. This could mean he is a spirit, uncorrupt, or he could even be one of the gods, like not just the spirit that communes with the augurs, just an actual god like Hakon was. Which one I can't say, but perhaps one that the Avvar don't know about. perhaps one who acts as the overseer to the other gods. Then the lady could be Ansraste, come to human form for a time, embodied until she was killed and had her rebirth, much like Hakon was embodied before being killed for a good rebirthing. In any case, lady keep you. Number 10, the fear demon from the Fade. We know that when a spirit is corrupt, it becomes a demon. We've speculated that a spirit inspiring a person in battle, if corrupted, while within that person, could turn into a demon and thus possess their host. And now, we've recently explored the possibility that the maker could be a demon. But not just any demon, the demon that is the leader and in charge of many other types of demons. The one that is the most primal emotion, fear. And not just any fear demon, the fear demon that is the overseer of the Fade, the one that becomes fat from your fears and claims to be in charge of and exists in the Fade. Not a city, but the actual Fade itself. The whole Fade. The fear demon from the Fade that the Inquisitor fights. Note that I keep referring to this fear demon with that, as opposed to who or whom with which I have identified spirits, referring to spirits with who or whom. Much as the maker has been personified and could be a being with a personal identification, maker has ID. A demon is beyond that, beyond what a sentient living creature is. A demon exists and is eternal, like the maker. And this fear demon is master of the Fade, like the maker. But a demon is not a being with which one can identify in the manner one identifies with living beings. And I make this distinction because if the maker is a fear demon, then he creates fear and inspires Theodosians through fear and lead them to do things worthy of his creation being fear. Beings in his image, beings of fear, beings who fear and live in fear. Also, in the maker's image, if corrupt is his image, corruption can then live in all beings. Then corruption could have already existed in the city, and Corypheus could be telling the truth. He could be right. Were then his first children actually, truly, in a way, Darkspawn? Who then created the maker? Was the maker a spirit first? Most likely, since demons were first spirits that were corrupt. And did the maker, when he got bored with his paradise and became disillusioned with the other spirits, the spirits to whom he was overseer, his creations, did he become corrupt as a result of that. What was he a spirit of originally then? Love? Solas says that fear is the most primal emotion other than perhaps love. And the two most primal and opposite emotions are love and fear. Then the Maker created the first demon by becoming the very first demon to exist himself. This would then explain why the Maker forgot about his creations, forgot about his people. He is no longer a Maker. He became the very corruption he had tried to avoid by creating his paradise. And now, all beings who are in his image are beings acting out of fear, thus destroying the paradise. The paradise that was destroyed by Solas acting from fear. And this paradise, the Maker could have feared losing due to an extreme love of it. He destroyed his own paradise by becoming a demon. And by remaining a demon, all beings who fear, and all beings experience fear, are in his image. So there you have it. 10 beings the Maker could be. Of course, my favorite one obviously is the Darkspawn one. And the fear demon from the Fade, there's just so much. It's a compelling one. I can't cast aside what could be evidence to that being the actual one. And I kind of like the idea of the Maker being a forgotten one for the elven thing. I like the forgotten one. Yeah, those would be my top 3. Which ones are your top 3? Or which ones do you not want him to be? I don't want him to be Solas. I don't want Solas to be the Maker. That theory doesn't please me too much. But let me know which ones you like, which ones you don't like. And are there bonus theories? Is there an 11th, 12th, 13th being the Maker could be? I mean, this could be endless. But the Maker could be anything at this point. But evidence is here. We've explored. There's evidence for everything here. The Maker could actually be any of these beings. So who knows? We'll have to find out with the next game. But in the meantime, we can keep speculating. And in different religions, there could be clues. And that's where some of my next videos are going to go. I'm going to be exploring the various religions that exist in Thedas, as well as deciphering the Canticle of Threnodies. Now, the Canticle of Threnodies is a long one, so it needs a couple of interludes, or a few. So these religion and a few extra little fun videos will act as interludes to the Canticle of Threnodies so that we're not too saturated by it. But I mean, with this level of lore, saturation is inevitable, obviously. So be sure to like the video, share it with anyone who's obsessed with Dragon Age, and be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're not already a subscriber to receive notifications. You can follow me on Twitter at BinkyProd as well. And stay tuned for more canticles and more theories. Masaranas. Be sure to check out some of my other stuff, and remember to buy video games at a discounted price and support me at no additional cost to you. Just follow my G2A affiliate link. To learn more how that can help you as well, you can watch my full explanation video on that. Thanks for tuning in.